Syracuse needed that. The Orange top Tennessee 62-60. They take down the number 13 team in the land after going 0-3 in Vegas, and potential calls on the job of Adrian Autry and the future of this team. Well, Syracuse comes out on top. A massive home win. And we have everything breaking it down here on Orange Press Pass. So stick around with us for the next half an hour as we break down all the highs and lows of what Syracuse did today in a 62-60 win over Tennessee. Welcome into our CitrusTV studios. That's Alex Burstein. That's Jake Klein. I'm Hudson Ridley. Syracuse takes down number 13 Tennessee 62-60 for what could potentially be the biggest win of the Adrian Autry era. Alex, that game was incredible.
Well, I mean, you said it might be. I'm pretty sure this is definitely the biggest win of Adrian Autry's coaching career so far. Talk about coaching changes, talk about hot seat. Adrian Autry took a leap off of that tonight. The only game you can maybe compare this to was that win against North Carolina 2 years ago when UNC was top 10. This was not a top 10 win, but this revitalized the Syracuse season. A huge opportunity for the Orange after dropping those games in Las Vegas. You needed a win to really stay in the conversation to get back to March Madness for the first time in years, and Adrian Autry had some good decisions and got that marquee win.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, what Hudson said off the top is absolutely right. Needed that. It had to happen. The season was dead if you didn't win that game. That said, it's not suddenly magically fixed because you won this game. You need a couple of more of those wins, and they're going to have to come in conference play because there are no more quad one opportunities for Syracuse to pick up a resume booster in the non-conference. They're going to have to beat a Duke or a North Carolina or a Louisville or an NC State, maybe multiple of those teams. They need more wins like the one today.
Quad one this, quad two that. I'm sick of the math. Let's break down the X's and O's and take a look at how this game went down. A big-time win for Syracuse at home, and early on, it was sloppy between both teams. A team in Tennessee that Syracuse had seen in the Players Era Festival just days ago did not play them, but got a scouting report, and Nate Kings must have really gotten that report. Went off in the first half. 19 points. He didn't take a single shot in the second half, so he had to get all 19 of his points in the first. He's a guy that's lighting it up. That's a new season high with the Orange in his time in Syracuse, and another part of the reason why the Orange were up at half, Tennessee, bad shooting from behind the arc. They airballed on 3 shots in the first half from behind the arc, 2 of them from Jacoby Gillespie, the leading scorer for the Vols, who only finished today with 10 points. While the Orange got a little luck at the buzzer. Tyler Betsy underneath lays it up and in. 32-30, Syracuse leads over Tennessee at the half. Then fast forward to the second half. J.J. Starling on defense and on offense. Starling 11 points in the second half, 5 of 7 shooting down the stretch. Then Sadiq White throwing it down on the other end. The Orange were a lob show all day long. William Kyle, that's where you're used to seeing him. But Tennessee snuck back. 10-0 run for the Volunteers to take the lead, their first lead of the second half. It was 51-50. With really not much time left to go. Syracuse had to make a play because Tennessee just kept getting to the interior. So who'd they rely on? Kyan Anthony in the corner. He's been cold as of late, but Lala loves it. Look at that, standing up on the sideline. J.J. Starling says, I'll do you one better. The Orange took the lead on that, and then Starling extended it. Step back, shoot. Starling extends the lead for the Orange over Tennessee. All the Volunteers could do was get buckets in the paint and hope that William Kyle missed free throws. By the way, he hit one, a big-time one for the Orange, and then on the defensive end, ball tipped around, won by Sadiq White. He hits one of his free throws, but misses the second with Syracuse up by 1. Tense situation between the Orange and the Big Orange. Needing a prayer, Rick Barnes' squad throws it deep. Almost a foul on Starling on the other end. Nate Ament, who was terrible on the game, missed that one, and Syracuse ends up taking a big-time win over Tennessee. That had my heart pounding, and the highlights, guys. Jake, I know we were a little scared as that game was rolling on there towards the end.
Well, you watched that Houston game last week in Vegas, and you're almost just waiting for it to fall apart for Syracuse. It felt like it was going to happen, and they didn't screw it up.
Yeah, and I think it was just really important for Syracuse to finally close out a game because it's just something this program hasn't done for a few years, especially under Adrian Autry. And, I mean, you guys said you did not think Syracuse was going to win this game. Even when they had the lead, that's how this program has played. And finally, they performed down the stretch.
Yeah, Jake and I played a game of, does Syracuse get the lead again ever once they went down by 1 point? And the answer for me both times was no. I was proven wrong. The Orange win 62-60, and someone who was there to witness it all. It was our reporter Adam Gotkin who's standing by right now. Adam, this game was tremendous on all levels, especially at the end. A court storming, something you rarely see in Syracuse. Describe what that court storming felt like.
I mean, it was mayhem, as expected when you beat the number 13 team in the country on your home floor. Look, this atmosphere was interesting today, if I'm being completely honest. Less than 20,000 fans in the Dome for a top 15 team is a very small crowd when you consider what this place is used to, but those fans made themselves heard towards the end, and you could tell that these fans have been missing big wins by the energy when they stormed the court. Look, Syracuse should be beating top 15 teams every year. It shouldn't be a rarity. It shouldn't be a court storm when a wins like this happens, but with how things have gone in the first 3 years of the Adrian Autry era, you have to celebrate the wins that you get, and this crowd certainly did today.
May not have been a sold-out crowd, but it was more fans than last week in Las Vegas when Syracuse dropped 3 games. You were there in the Sin City, and you were there tonight. How did Syracuse look different on the court than in those 3 losses?
I don't think they necessarily looked that different than they did in the 3 losses. I mean, you look at each of those games. The first one's an overtime battle against one of the best teams in the country in Houston. Second one, you almost keep it close at the end with Kansas. They pull away towards the very end. And then in the third game, I mean, it's a 1-point game at Iowa State, and then you get blown out in the second half, but Syracuse was competitive in 5 of the 6 halves in Vegas. The difference was they just actually closed out today. I think a lot of that is on Tennessee really not playing good basketball, and Rick Barnes was pretty clear after the game that he knew that his team did not play its A game, but you also have to give credit to Syracuse for finally closing something that it couldn't do despite playing 5 good halves in Vegas.
I want to ask you about the Syracuse defense because it's what really impressed me. It's what Adrian Autry has preached all season. Syracuse pretty much shut down Tennessee's 2 best players. Jacoby Gillespie only scores 10 points, 5 of 12. Nate Amon, 11 points, 2 of 10 from the field. What worked for Syracuse to shut those 2 down?
Well, first off, with Amon, I was unbelievably impressed with how J.J. Starling defended him. I mean, that was a really tough matchup. Starling's about 6'4", Amon 6'10", and yet J.J. held his own pretty much. Amon did look like a freshman today. He was not taking very smart shots. He was turning the ball over, but still, to defend him the way that J.J. did, you can't be anything but thrilled. With Jacoby Gillespie, he just didn't have the game that you expected him to. This is a guy that was pretty much always on at Maryland last year, and he just didn't look like himself today. Nate Kings did an excellent job of getting in his face and making Gillespie feel uncomfortable. But, the sport of basketball can be cruel sometimes, and it kind of just felt like one of those days where Jacoby Gillespie wasn't himself.
Adam, before we let you go, one more thing from you. I know in the last game against Iowa State when Syracuse got the doors blown off of it, you didn't feel too confident about the Orange going forward after that. A win over Tennessee, where do you sit now with this team potentially going forward?
Look, I think we're in a really, really interesting spot when it comes to this team because unlike 2 years ago when Syracuse won 20 games and missed the tournament, it now has that non-conference win on its resume against Tennessee. Really, the question is, what does the ACC end up looking like in conference play? Do you have opportunities at 5 to 10, somewhere in that range, quad 1 wins, because you need those. If not, then Syracuse is still going to be in trouble. But this win puts the Orange in a spot where they don't have to win 15 games in ACC play if they want to make the NCAA tournament. So I think you're more confident, but still, Syracuse is fighting to be back on the bubble. Even with this win, the KenPom is below where it was entering Vegas, still outside the top 60. So look, this is an encouraging win. There's no way to be unhappy about a win against the 13th best team in the country, but there's still a lot more work to be done.
That's our reporter, Adam Gotkin. Adam, you clean up nice after some late nights at the Luxor. Well done today. We hope you enjoyed that game as well. Syracuse with a 62-60 win over Tennessee. We've got plenty more on how that happened after this. Back on Orange Press Pass, that's Jake Klein, that's Alex Burstein. I'm Hudson Ridley. Syracuse with a 62-60 win over number 13 Tennessee. We've got a lot more on that coming up, but before we do, let's take a quick look at things happening right now around the Hill. Just a few days ago, Syracuse with a 78-62 win over Howard in women's basketball. Jake, I know you know a lot about that team. They are rolling right now.
Certainly are, but a big game coming up in the ACC SEC Challenge tomorrow against Auburn.
And then Syracuse football, disastrous to end the season, losing out after starting 3-1, a 34-12 loss to Boston College. Alex, you were there. That had to have felt deflating.
Yeah, it just didn't feel like a real game of college football between these two teams, but hey, fans got something to cheer about tonight so they can put that football season to the side.
Certainly did. We'll put aside Syracuse for a second and take a look at the entire nation right now and what's going on in the NCAA. Michigan State cruising to a win over Iowa, 71-52. Alex, you're a big Big Ten guy, so am I, and Michigan State right now worries me.
Yeah, I mean, a 20-point win over any Big Ten team is impressive, and hey, they say Tom Izzo's good in March, but he's looking pretty darn good in December.
Kansas at number 21, on top of UConn, 33-29 at the half. Jake, without Darren Peterson right now, this could be pretty big for the Jayhawks.
Yeah, it would be huge. You got to credit Bill Self for the job he's done with that Kansas team with its leading scorer out. Would be a massive win over UConn.
It certainly would. And speaking of statement wins, we had one tonight. Syracuse on top of Tennessee, and it really felt like a win that Adrian Autry can finally hang his hat on. Yes, he had North Carolina last year, but this because the implications of the tournament are still on the line and we're early into the year. Alex, to me, this felt like his best win.
Yeah, because that other game was in February when Syracuse was basically done with any chances of making the tournament. I also think it's important we note, Donnie Freeman, maybe the best player on this Syracuse team, did not play tonight. Syracuse just upset a top 15 team that was basically fully healthy, and they did it without possibly their best player. So a really marquee matchup for Syracuse and a great win for Autry.
And you mentioned Donnie Freeman out. Who knows how long he's going to be out? Syracuse continues to just string us all along on Donnie Freeman's availability. And so if this does turn into a longer-term thing, you've got to feel, I think, pretty comfortable about the way the team has gelled without him.
And you just really needed a win, as you see on your screen, with those losses to Houston, the Kansas team that's now ranked, Iowa State. But this Tennessee team is up there with all of those teams, only lost to Kansas by 5 points, had some really good wins over in Vegas. So Tennessee's with them, and Syracuse showed it's in that group.
They beat Houston, who's on that list right there. Haven't played Iowa State, who looks incredible. But of those teams, Tennessee hung right in the mix. So the fact that Syracuse has played 7 good halves of basketball out of the 8 available against 4 of the top 25 teams in the nation, really 4 of the top 20, pretty impressive. And like you said, they did it without the leading scorer in Donnie Freeman. So who did they have step up? At least today, it was J.J. Starling. The Orange needed production out of Starling in the second half, and he delivered 11 points, 5 of 7 shooting down the stretch. Jake, when you have a performance like that after being a little hot and cold, that could put him right back on the right track.
Yeah, I was full steam ahead on the move J.J. Starling to the bench train after Vegas because it was pretty ugly. And I know an 11-point game is not the huge type of monster performance that he had in a couple of games last year when they really had to rely on him. He only scored 1 point in the first half of this game, but boy, was he big down the stretch. I don't know that J.J. Starling should be starting for this team, but he should absolutely be on the floor to close game.
And that is what you needed out of J.J. Starling because he's not the best scorer on this team.
Totally
He's
agree.
not the best player on this team. Last year he had to be, and lo and behold, Syracuse was not good. Now he's finally in a role where he can be a leader on this team, both on and off the court. And we saw a clutch J.J. Starling once again tonight. It was like that Youngstown State game last year. He really took over down the stretch, albeit against a much better team. But it was that classic J.J. Starling in his hometown doing some dangerous work.
Yeah, I like how on one end you mentioned it's like when he was playing Youngstown State last year. Oh, by the way, it was in a win over number 13 Tennessee. If you don't think the program's at least trending in a better direction than last year, you're a little bit crazy for that. What I will say too is the fact that his defense, Starling's, has gone under the radar is really missed. He did a great job shutting down Nate Amen. And Alex, I'll add, throughout the night, this Syracuse defense was really special, like it has been all season.
Yeah, I mean, straight in the numbers, Nate Amen and Jacoby Gillespie, who entering today were averaging over 35 combined points per game. Tonight, only 21. That's a big downward trend for the top two scorers for this Volunteer squad. And when you're able to stop top guys, that's huge for this team. Syracuse looked really good on the perimeter, got beat down low a little bit. That's going to happen when you have William Kyle as your center because he's not super big, but they made it work, and that's huge going down the stretch.
Yeah, it's what Adrian Autry has preached since day one, since the summer. He loves to talk about the summer, right? Syracuse has to create offense starting on the defensive end. They blew Tennessee out of the water in this game in terms of points off of turnovers. That's how Syracuse wants to make its bones offensively, by getting out into transition. It starts on the defensive end. I was thoroughly impressed with the way they held Tennessee to just 41% from the field. That ties for its lowest in the game.
I mean, Syracuse did a really good job stopping bad opponents from having crazy field goal percentages, and now Syracuse did it against a really good team. So it wasn't just a fluke against those low KenPom teams. It's against every single squad they faced.
Absolutely.
Well, someone who has gone a little bit under the radar and we've yet to mention, but captured my heart tonight, was my player of the game, Sadiq White. What Sadiq White did out there tonight may not be stuffing the stat sheet. He only put up 10 points, and he had 9 rebounds, which led the team. But it was the effort plays that you didn't see down the stretch from him. A big rebound at the end of the game that he ripped down. On the offensive end, he didn't have a bucket in the last 8 minutes of the game, and he still somehow produced with offensive boards, kicking out, and playing physical and aggressive. What I saw against Iowa State from Sadiq White was the only guy out there on the court who cared. Now, a week later, I look at Sadiq White again and see a guy who cares just as much if his team is in a 1-point game or a 30-point game. Sadiq White, for that reason, is my player of the game for things that you will not see in the box score. Well, I'm here right now. I'll have the guys join me in just a moment. Jake and Alex will come right here to play a little bit of This or That, Syracuse Men's Basketball Edition. We'll be right back after this on No Poll.
Every time I hear the alarm bell go off in school, I think it's an air raid.
A lot of houses in our neighborhood have been destroyed.
I like to close my ears and sing songs whenever the bombs come close.
I'm worried our new neighbors won't like us.
But I know it's all gonna be worth it.
I just want my family to be safe.
But these are not my words.
These are not my words.
These are not my words.
Orange Press Pass rolls on from our CitrusTV studios. That's Jake Klein. That's Alex Burstein. I'm Hudson Ridley. We have a little bit of this or that for you after Syracuse takes down number 13 Tennessee 62-60. Guys, this was a game where I thought Sadiq White was the best player, but as soon as I said that, you guys during the break said, what? How is that possible? Well, look, I'm going to die on that hill, but Alex, I'll start with you. I mean, who are you going with?
I think you have to go with J.J. Starling because of the performance he put down the stretch. This game was 56-55, Tennessee leading, and a basket for the Volunteers might have put this game over. Instead, what happened? A three-pointer by J.J. Starling and then a two-point jumper by the captain of the squad made it a 60-56 lead for Syracuse that the Orange never looked back on. Yes, you can talk about the point totals, the rebound totals, the assist totals, but at the end of the game, it was J.J. Starling stepping up to win this contest for the Orange. So how can't you give him player of the game?
Look, I totally agree, but J.J. Starling doesn't have the opportunity to do that if not for Nate Kings. He's my player of the game. He goes for 19 points in the first half. Outscores the rest of his team combined by 6. Syracuse is not even in this game if not for the way that Nate Kings played in the first half. It's not just the three-point shooting that he's known for. The guy plays hard. 7 boards, including a couple of big ones. And as Adam, our reporter, said earlier, he did a great job on the defensive end as well.
It's not a 20-minute game, though. It's a 40-minute game.
Well, J.J. Starling scored 1 point in the first half.
Still, 0 points in the second half when this game was won in the final 5 minutes for Syracuse. I don't know. You need a little bit more out of him late.
1 point, no points. I mean, we're talking about basically one good half from each of them.
Sadiq White had 2 good halves, and that's why he is still your Orange Press Pass player of the game. Now, I will say, this does maybe change some tournament appearances for Syracuse. You lose 3 of your best chances to get a quad 1 win, and then you get a quad 1. There's quad 1A as well. There are levels to this, and you pick up a quad 1A win over Tennessee as it stands right now. Alex, what do you think for this team going forward?
I mean, I think this is a huge win because, Jake, last year, how many quad 1 wins did Syracuse have? Was it 1? Was it 2? It was 0. 0-10 in quad 1 games for Syracuse last year. They had lost 13 since the start of last season after those 3 losses in Vegas last week. And I know it's confusing. I know these net rankings are confusing, but we've learned over the last couple of years it is what the tournament committee cares about. Syracuse got a huge win tonight and it put them right back on the bubble for March.
I agree. It was absolutely a huge win, but like I said earlier, I still think Syracuse needs more of these. What they did against the mid-major teams, clearly, according to the net, they were in the 90s in the net rankings, clearly had not done enough with the Vegas showing and the earlier games for this to be right back in the conversation after you beat Tennessee. You still need more. You're going to have to pick up quad 1 wins, especially on the road into ACC play. You're going to have to beat a Duke or a UNC or a Louisville or an NC State, like I said.
But if you lose this game, then there really is no margin for error. Now there is a slight margin of error for Syracuse.
I agree. There is a margin of error, but it's still not very big.
And you still do, like you said, Jake, have to beat UNC, Duke, Louisville, something. Well, that's enough for us for right now. We'll be back in just a moment with our final thoughts from a big-time Syracuse men's basketball win. Keep it right here on Orange Press Pass.
Come on, it's not that hard.
My big man fingers are having a problem with these little tiny buttons.
Whoa, watch it there. Your blood pressure's gonna go through the roof.
Tell me about it. I'm trying to learn how to get it down. Instead, it keeps going up.
High blood pressure can increase the risk for heart attack or stroke. Learn how to keep yours at a healthy range.
Ever hear a voice command? Just say text barbershop to 97779.
That's not what I said.
Just give me that. Now my blood pressure's up.
Jason, let's go see your room.
That's not right. How is it? Is it good?
Wrapping up shop here on Orange Press Pass. Jake Klein, Alex Burstein. I'm Hudson Ridley. Big time win for Syracuse over Tennessee, 62-60. The Orange take down a top 25 team, which feels like a very rare occurrence in the Adrian Autry era, but they do it at home. And I guess, guys, the good thing about winning this game is you don't have a lot of tough games on the schedule after this, because when you take a look at their upcoming schedule, not a whole lot stands in their way.
And that is why this win was so important, because beating St. Joseph, beating Mercyhurst, beating Northeastern, okay, it might mean something in the net rankings. It might go up or two, a spot or two. But in the grand scheme of things, no one's going to care about a mid-December win over a bottom-tier Division I team. They're going to care about that Tennessee win, and that's why Syracuse needed it tonight.
I'll tell you this, though. Somebody will care, a lot of people will care about a mid-December loss to one of these teams. So if you're Syracuse, objective A, win. Objective B, win in blowout fashion, because as we all know, for the purposes of the net rankings, beating the bad teams by a lot is just as important as beating the good teams by a little. It is valued in the net rankings. It's part of why Syracuse had such a high net ranking early on until that Monmouth game.
And it shows that Syracuse, by beating those teams, can go up in the rankings. It's complicated math. No one really knows how it works, but beating the bad teams and beating the good teams is both going to help you. So Syracuse can't sleepwalk past these teams, has to put its full attention on it, but I think a major weight is lifted off the shoulder of the Orange right now. Otto is relaxing right now because he got this win tonight for Syracuse.
I would hope Otto is relaxing. It almost feels like Otto is never relaxing. You've heard a lot from those two guys. It's time to hear from them one final time as we have both of them sound off.
Well, Hudson, it may have taken a bit longer than expected, but it's time to start spreading the news. JJ Starling is back. The guard's role entering this year was misunderstood by many, maybe even the SU coaching staff. No, he's not your best scorer, maybe even not one of your top 2 scorers, but JJ Starling is Syracuse basketball. A hometown kid who witnessed one of the worst seasons in SU history last year, and when you need him, you can count on him. The Orange won this game large in part because of some late Starling baskets, and with ACC play around the corner, one of your clutchest players showed up tonight. Now he knows he can be counted on once again.
Well, it's time for me to play the Debbie Downer. Tonight should have been a celebration for Syracuse basketball. A signature win over number 13 Tennessee, a national moment, a chance to say the Orange are finally climbing back toward relevance again. But by storming the court, Syracuse's fans turned a great night into a sobering reminder of just how far this program has fallen. This is Syracuse, a brand and a program that used to expect wins like this, that used to pick up 10 wins like this every year, that used to compete for national titles and didn't lose its mind over wins like this. The Dome used to be the place where top 15 teams like Tennessee feared coming in, not where beating one triggered a party at midcourt. So yeah, let's enjoy the win. The team earned it, no doubt about it. But the reaction, that told the real story. Syracuse fans celebrated this like a program thrilled just a punch above its weight, not a program trying to return to where it once was. And that moment showed just how much work Syracuse still has left to do.
Very fair. I will counter with this, though, Jake.
No fun.
A, no fun, but also B, not a lot of these kids who stormed the court. None of them were alive for the national championship. Most of them didn't care about Syracuse when they've made the tournament. So a lot of these people have not seen a win like this.
So it's an uninformed fan base.
Exactly.
That's your defense.
It's not a lame fan base. It's uninformed. Well, you could also argue that, but I think them storming the court is still fun. Guys, before we go, yes, of course, maybe we focus on the next game in St. Joe's, but there is a more pressing thing to get to. This is the last Orange Press Pass show for executive producer Gabe Perrin, one of my favorite people here at Syracuse University. He is so incredibly funny, as you can see over here, shotgunning what appears to be a monster. Gabe has been with this OPP staff for so long. Look at him. There's Gabe in the control room. Gabe, give a little peace sign, a little smile. We love Gabe here, and without Gabe, Orange Press Pass would not turn into the show that it has become now, a real serious show. So Gabe, on behalf of Jake Klein and Alex Burstein, I also want to thank you for doing so well on this show. And shout out to the new team, Helena, who's taken over. Syracuse wins over Tennessee.